السيدات والسادة، في إطار المحادثات من أجل شراكة أقوى بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي وبالتزامن مع مرور 20 عاما على دخول اتفاقية الشراكة بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي حيز النفاذ، يتفضل فخامة الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية والسيدة أورسولا فون ليين رئيسة المفوضية الأوروبية بالتوقيع على الإعلان المشترك بشأن الشراكة الاستراتيجية والشاملة بين جمهورية مصر العربية والاتحاد الأوروبي.
Ladies and gentlemen, within the framework of talks for further robust partnership between Egypt and the European Union, coinciding with the 20th anniversary for putting into effect the partnership agreement between Egypt and the European Union, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic, and Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, signed the joint declaration on strategic and comprehensive partnership between the Arab Republic of Egypt and the European Union.
السيدات والسادة، من منطلق التأكيد على حرص مصر واليونان على الاستمرار في دفع العلاقات بينهما إلى آفاق أرحب ومواصلة تعزيز وتفعيل التعاون المشترك بين البلدين، يتفضل فخامة الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية وسعادة السيد رئيس وزراء اليونان السيد كيرياكوس ميتسوتاكس بالتوقيع على الإعلان المشترك حول تأسيس مجلس تعاون رفيع المستوى بين جمهورية مصر العربية والجمهورية اليونانية.
Ladies and gentlemen, based on Egypt and Greece's eagerness to continue the advancement of their bilateral relationships to wider prospects and to continue to strengthen and activate their joint cooperation, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Republic, and His Excellency Prime Minister of Greece, Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, signed the joint declaration on the establishment of a high-level cooperation council between the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Republic of Greece.
السيدات والسادة، وفي إطار مواصلة تعزيز وتطوير أطر التعاون المشترك فيما بين مصر وإيطاليا، نشهد الآن التوقيع على اتفاقات ومذكرة تفاهم فيما بين البلدين.
Ladies and gentlemen, within the framework of sustaining, strengthening and developing joint cooperation frameworks between Egypt and Italy, we now attest the signature of agreements and memos of understanding between the two states.
اتفاقية بين وزارة الخارجية والتعاون الدولي الإيطالية ووزارة التعاون الدولي بشأن برنامج تقديم الدعم الفني للمناطق الصناعية الخاصة بصناعة الجلود والأثاث والرخام، يوقع عن الجانب المصري الدكتورة رانيا المشاط وزيرة التعاون الدولي، وعن الجانب الإيطالي السيد إدموندو شيريالي نائب وزير الخارجية والتعاون الدولي. فليتفضل.
An agreement between the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Minister of International Cooperation on the program of technical assistance to industrial zones on leather, furniture and marble. For the Egyptian side, Dr. Rania Al-Mashat, Minister of International Cooperation. For Italy, Mr. Edmondo Scepali, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
اتفاقية بين وزارة الخارجية والتعاون الدولي الإيطالية ووزارة التعاون الدولي ووزارة التضامن الاجتماعي والمجلس القومي للأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة بشأن تعزيز حقوق المعاقين ودمجهم في المجتمع، يوقع عن الجانب المصري الدكتورة رانيا المشاط وزيرة التعاون الدولي، وعن الجانب الإيطالي السيد إدموندو شيريالي نائب وزير الخارجية والتعاون الدولي.
An agreement between the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Ministry of International Cooperation, the Ministry of Social Solidarity and the National Council for Persons with Disabilities on the promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities and their integration within the society. For the Egyptian side, Dr. Rania Al-Mashat, Minister of International Cooperation. For Italy, Mr. Edmondo Scepali, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
مذكرة تفاهم بين وزارة التربية والتعليم الفني ووزارة التعليم الإيطالية للتعاون في مجال التعليم الفني والتدريب المهني، يوقع عن الجانب المصري الدكتور رضا حجازي وزير التربية والتعليم الفني، وعن الجانب الإيطالي السيد جوزيبي فاليدتارا وزير التعليم والاستحقاق.
A memo of understanding between the Ministry of Pedagogy, Educational and Vocational Education and the Italian Ministry of Education for cooperation in the field of technical education and vocational training. For the Egyptian side, Dr. Rida Hgezi, Minister of Pedagogy, Education and Vocational Training. For the Italian side, Mr. Giuseppe Valditara, Minister of Education and Entitlement.
شكرا لحضراتكم.
Thank you so much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة السيدة أرسولا
Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, Excellency Mr. Alexander De Croo, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Belgium and the incumbent President of the European Union, Excellency Mr. Nikos Christodoulidís, President of the Republic of Cyprus, Excellency Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Greece, Excellency Mr. Karl Nehammer, Chancellor of Austria, Excellency Mrs. Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of the Republic of Italy, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to welcome you as dear guests to Egypt. Your visit to Egypt today comes at an intense momentum attested by the Egyptian-European relationships, be it with the EU institutions or with its member states. Your visit today symbolized a phase of paramount significance in the relationships between Egypt and the European Union. We have together achieved success to make a peculiar shift in our partnerships. A few moments ago, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, and I signed an instrument of joint political declaration to launch the track of elevation of the relationship between Egypt and the European Union to the level of strategic and comprehensive partnership. It aims to upgrade the level of cooperation for the fulfillment of common interests. Ladies and gentlemen, the track of elevating relationships between Egypt and the EU is coupled with a financial package for boosting the Egyptian economy. The nearly 7.4 billion euros package comprises three key components, including soft financing, investment guarantees, and technical support for the implementation of bilateral cooperation projects. Mrs. President of the European Commission and I agreed as well to hold an investment conference between Egypt and the EU during the second half of this year to introduce the investment and potential investment opportunities in Egypt so as to help promoting the engagement of the European partnerships in the Egyptian market. Today's talks have seen a special focus on the enhancement of cooperation in the field of energy in terms of the natural gas or electric connectivity. We agreed on cooperation in the field of production of green hydrogen as one source of clear energy. We underlined the sustainability of the existing cooperation within the framework of East Mediterranean Gas Forum, for it helps the realization of energy security at both regional and international levels. Ladies and gentlemen, the talks tackled the significance for continuing to contend with the common challenges, at the top of which is irregular migration. We stressed our commitment to combating such phenomenon within the framework of the existing cooperation, while including the developmental dimension and addressing them in addition to reinforcing regular migration pathways. We concurred to the necessity of boosting Egypt's efforts that managed to halt the flows of irregular migration departing from the Egyptian coast since 2016. Furthermore, 9 million foreigners are hosted in Egypt. They enjoy social and health services similar to the Egyptian citizens. Distinguished participants, regional and international profiles of common interest were given due attention in our today's talks. The Palestinian cause and the war in Gaza came at the forefront of which I underscored how inevitable it is to have an immediate ceasefire and end the acts of hostilities by Israel. Within this context, I called upon the European leaders to put more efforts into ceasefire, immediate ceasefire and unconditional ceasefire, further to increasing humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip in order to ease the humanitarian crisis the Palestinians are living. The European leaders and I came to an agreement to reject an Israeli military operation in Rafah that would double the humanitarian crisis from which the civilians in the Strip suffer, not to mention the fallouts of this operation as to liquidating Palestinian cause, which is categorically refused by Egypt. Egypt reiterates its absolute rejection to any attempts by Israel to the forcible displacement of the Palestinian people from their occupied lands since 1967, including Gaza Strip Strip, West Bank and East Jerusalem. I discussed in expatiation Egypt's efforts at resolving the crisis while emphasizing the importance of addressing the Palestinian cause from a holistic and integrated perspective that ensures the rights of the Palestinians to establish their independent state as per the borders of 1967 and its capital East Jerusalem. I would like to conclude by underlining that it is necessary to relay a unified message to the international community to highlight that the sufferings of the Palestinian people in the entire occupied Palestinian territories over the past decades can only be suspended when the State of Palestine is recognized and is given a full-fledged membership in the United Nations, and pursue the implementation of the two-state solution in line with the international references. The procrastination with resolving this cause doesn't only jeopardize the region, but the entire group to instability. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you anew as guests to Egypt. I thank you for our today's fruitful talks. I look forward for continuing our constructive dialogue and to our constant coordination. Thank you so much. Allow me to invite Mrs. President of the European Commission to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your warm welcome and your hospitality. I'm very glad to be back in Cairo. The partnership between the European Union and Egypt is of critical importance. The presence of 6 European leaders today shows how deeply we value our relationship. We share strategic interests in stability and prosperity. And given your political and economic weight, as well as your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood, the importance of our relations will only increase over time. Today's visit and strong representation by European leaders reflects the strength of our bilateral ties. And today marks a historic milestone with the signature of our joint declaration for a strategic and comprehensive partnership. It is a partnership based on 6 main pillars, 6 areas of mutual interest for Europe and Egypt. And I'm pleased to announce that this will be supported by a new financial and investment package of 7.4 billion euros for the coming 4 years. This package has 6 pillars. The first one is that we will intensify our political dialogue. And together we will also work on our commitment to promote democracy and human rights. And to do this, we will hold a leaders' summit once every 2 years that comes on top of our annual Association Council. The second pillar is economic stability. We will support financially your reform efforts together with international partners. The third pillar is on investment and trade. We have already our economic and investment plan in place, but we can do much more. Be it renewable energy, be it digitalization or connectivity, be it the agriculture sector or the water management, just to name a few topics. And to this end, we will support the EU-Egypt Investment Conference in Cairo later this year. And in this context, let me say a few words on energy investments. We are developing the Greggy Electric Interconnector project together. This connects Egypt to Greece and increases, of course, the energy security in Europe. Egypt has all the resources to become a renewables hub, in particular when it comes to renewable hydrogen. You are keen to attract foreign investments, and we have investors interested in Egypt, and we have a memorandum of understanding on this. So let us press ahead with the work in this area, and let's get very concrete. The fourth pillar is migration and mobility. We already have a very good cooperation, and this is needed more than ever. This is why we will invest at least 200 million euros from today's package to make our cooperation even more effective. We will carry on with our work to facilitate legal migration, for example, the talent partnerships, and in parallel we will continue to count on Egypt's full dedication to control illegal migration, from border management to anti-smuggling and return. The fifth pillar is on security and law enforcement. We have an established cooperation in counterterrorism, and we will reinforce it. The last pillar is in many ways the most important one. It is about people, it is about their skills, and it is about research. Exchanges of students under the Erasmus Plus programme are already thriving. Egypt can now negotiate its accession to other EU programmes, for example, Creative Europe or Horizon Europe, and all this will deepen the bonds between our people on both sides of the Mediterranean. Of course, these discussions are taking place in a time of deep crisis. We are all extremely concerned about the war in Gaza and the unfolding catastrophic humanitarian situation. Gaza is facing famine, and we cannot accept this. It is critical to achieve an agreement on a ceasefire rapidly now that frees the hostages and allows more humanitarian aid to reach Gaza. I commend you for your personal efforts, Mr. President, to broker such a ceasefire. And we are also very concerned about the risks a full-scale offensive in Rafah would have on the vulnerable civilian population. This needs to be avoided at all costs. I would also like to thank Egypt for its extraordinary efforts to ensure that humanitarian supplies can reach Gaza. The European Union is doing everything in its power to provide it much-needed assistance. We know that today Gaza needs 500 trucks per day, or the equivalent by land, by air, or by sea. And this year alone, the European Union will provide €275 million in assistance to Palestinians. We have delivered over 1,800 tons of aid, including medical equipment, to Egypt, and we are making sure this aid can reach Gaza through all possible routes, and this includes also our newly opened maritime corridor in Cyprus. Mr. President, current events confirm once again the vital role that Egypt plays in the stability and security of the region. And these challenging times have shown the value and the strength of our bilateral cooperation and relationship. It is therefore only natural for us to intensify our partnership. We have a mutual interest to do so. So thank you very much again, Mr. President. I'm looking forward to this new chapter in our relationship.
Thank you. أدعو الآن فخامة رئيس وزراء بلجيكا رئيس الدولة الحالية للاتحاد الأوروبي لإلقاء كلمته، فليتفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for hosting this very important summit between the European Union and Egypt. In the state of the world of today, it is crucial to have partners, and to have partners who cooperate. Today's strategic partnership will make us stronger, and this partnership will deliver. It will deliver on more investment, it will deliver on creation of more jobs, it will deliver on creating more cooperation between Egypt and the European Union, and it will deliver on stemming irregular migration. The strategic partnership is to the benefit of Egypt and of the European Union, especially in these times when we have a war on the European continent, when we have a horrendous conflict in Gaza, and when we see the impact, for example, on the trade going through the Red Sea. The reforms that are in this agreement will improve the investment climate. It will strengthen Egypt's economy. It will create business opportunities, which create more opportunities, especially for a young generation. In addition to that, a vibrant civic space, A vibrant democracy will add even more perspective to a young generation. Egypt plays an important role in fighting human trafficking and in fighting the smugglers' network. The EU will assist Egypt in coping with this challenge and working together to fight the root causes of irregular migration. As being said, this meeting was also a meeting where we talked extensively on the situation in Gaza. Egypt has been a partner and will continue to be a partner in trying to establish an immediate ceasefire and an immediate release of the hostages. The current situation in Gaza is unacceptable. Too many civilian lives have been lost. There has been an ICJ provisional ruling. That provisional ruling has demanded on Israel to increase the access for humanitarian aid. What we have seen in practice is the opposite. The access for humanitarian aid has decreased. It is a responsibility to make sure that sufficient humanitarian access is provided. More food, more water, more medicines are urgently needed, and especially in this month of Ramadan, everyone hopes that a ceasefire would be coming in this holy month and it would come into effect. The population of Gaza deserves to live in peace. Dear Mr. President, I would thank you for this partnership. Thank also my colleagues for an important moment in our Belgian presidency to come to this agreement between Egypt and the European Union.
Thank you.
See the President of Cyprus.
Egypt, I'm delighted. Dear friend, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, I'm delighted to join Ursula and my colleagues here in Cairo, and I would like to thank you for your warm hospitality as always. It is a great honor to be part of such a historic day, a day that marks the launch of the strategic and comprehensive partnership between the European Union and the Arab Republic of Egypt. Thank you, Ursula, for leading the way and delivering this very important document. It is a day that stands for political commitment, cooperation and leadership. Cyprus is not only the closest geographically member state of the European Union to Egypt. Cyprus and Egypt share a deep historic friendship that in recent years has become a true and deep strategic partnership anchored on solid foundations of true friendship. Fully cognizant of the critical role of Egypt as a pillar of stability in the region, Cyprus has long advocated for the development of a strategic partnership between the European Union and Egypt. And today, we are proud that we are witnessing its fruition. The joint declaration, signed a few moments ago, marks the beginning of a new era in European Union-Egypt relations. The broad scope and the strategic nature of the wide-ranging sectors identified in the declaration fully reflect Egypt's indispensable role in Europe's southeastern flank. Today, we take a substantial step towards making each other stronger in addressing common challenges and in harnessing the potential in our partnership, which is limitless and awaits to be further enhanced. Dear friends, with Egypt we also share a common vision for a peaceful Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East. It is a vision President Sisi has been a key architect in consulting and implementing, demonstrating true leadership. Egypt plays a critical role in addressing numerous crises from Libya to Sudan, Palestine and the Red Sea. Specifically in Gaza, Egypt and President Sisi has been exerting tremendous efforts to achieve a ceasefire, to prevent the conflict from spreading, to bring lasting peace and to provide much-needed humanitarian relief for the civilians in Gaza. I want once again to publicly thank President Sisi for his country's tireless efforts in this respect. In the same context, I also want to underline yet again that the displacement of Gazans is unacceptable and it also compromises the national security of neighbouring countries. Dear friends, we all agree that it is crucial that we deliver more aid to Gaza. To this end, since the start of the war, Cyprus has worked on providing supplementary options to the international community for the delivery of aid. Last week, Cyprus, joined by a number of partners, including the European Union, always under the leadership of Ursula, has established a safe humanitarian maritime corridor. I want to stress once again that this effort is of purely humanitarian nature and complementary to the existing routes and mechanisms already in place. In concluding, I wish to stress that Cyprus will continue working with its partners in the European Union to see this strategic partnership flourish, particularly with the objective of ensuring peace and stability, but also economic prosperity in the Mediterranean, the Middle East, the Red Sea and the Horn of Africa. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, for those of us, Madam President, dear colleagues, for those of us, as President Christodoulidís pointed out, that have been advocating for a long time a stronger and closer partnership between the European Union and Egypt, today is indeed a very, very special moment. The implementation of the comprehensive and strategic partnership with Egypt sets clear goals in terms of strengthening the relationship between the European Union and Egypt, and recognizes a very simple fact, that the stability and prosperity of Egypt is of critical importance to the European Union. And Greece will continue, as it has been, to be a steadfast supporter of Egypt's relations with the European Union, and to recognize the crucial role Egypt is called upon to play on numerous areas of common interest. This strategic partnership is signed in a time of great upheaval in the Middle East, and the topic was extensively discussed in our meetings, and we're all gravely concerned about the situation in Gaza, especially ahead of a possible ground invasion in Rafah, which, as the President of the Commission said, must be avoided at all costs. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is simply unacceptable. The situation demands an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages, and the opening of all avenues for humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of the innocent people of Gaza. And Egypt has a major role to play, and we're grateful for your responsible stance and efforts, Mr. President, facing this crisis whose consequences affect your country directly. And it is of paramount importance for the international community to act jointly to prevent a further destabilization of the wider region, and Greece, from its end, stands ready to contribute to any effort that will lead towards achieving regional stability. In that spirit, our country has assumed a leading role in the defensive EU operation Aspides in the Red Sea, with the aim of safeguarding freedom of navigation and protecting human life, an issue which is particularly important also for Egypt and the revenues it gets from the Suez Canal. And the collective EU effort, with the support of regional stakeholders such as Egypt, can contribute to a secure environment in that strategic maritime area. And we've also supported the launch of the Cypriot initiative for a maritime corridor as a complementary humanitarian route to that of the Rafah crossing. We've also had an opportunity to discuss issues related to migration in light of the current geopolitical challenges in the Middle East and North Africa, and we commend Egypt and its efforts in preventing flows from reaching the Mediterranean route by hosting a huge number of migrants and curbing the illegal trafficking routes, and we've discussed that we must prevent the opening of new routes, and we will work very closely with Egypt to ensure that this goal will be achieved, and we will also work very closely with Egypt to ensure that we open up legal pathways to migration in order to offer more young Egyptians an opportunity to travel to Europe legally rather than possibly risking their lives on very treacherous journeys. Finally, we touched upon the future of our cooperation in energy, which bears great potential for both sides. Egypt has the potential of becoming a powerhouse regarding the production of electricity from the wind and the sun, and we reaffirmed our commitment to continue to advance projects such as the Greki interconnection between Egypt and Greece, which has recently been recognized as a project of mutual interest by the European Union. In closing, let me thank you again, President al-Sisi, for hosting today's historical meeting, and let me reiterate again that the European Union stands ready to stand by and assist Egypt in its biggest challenges.
Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. President, dear Madam President, dear colleagues. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. President, dear Madam President, dear colleagues. I am delighted about today's visit here in Cairo, as it allowed us to continue our discussions from when I visited President al-Sisi in April 2023. And especially because today the partnership between the EU and Egypt is being taken to a new level. Thank you, Mr. President, for your hospitality and today's fruitful, trustful, constructive and open discussions. We started talks on a partnership that is beneficial for both sides already during my visit here in Cairo. The comprehensive Egypt agreement is an important step for Europe's security. Thank you to President von der Leyen for her leadership on this issue. Thank you very much. And in this agreement, there are many important areas which should be mentioned, from the economy and energy, such as green hydrogen, to cooperation between our nations in education and science, to migration. We see great potential for close cooperation with Egypt in the field of green hydrogen. We already discussed this last year, as well as in the area of the shortage of skilled labor in Europe. In Egypt, the population is growing every year, whereas population growth in most European countries is declining. Qualified workers from Egypt can therefore make an important contribution in Europe. As Austria is particularly affected by this, I would like to say a few words on the topic of migration, and thank you, President al-Sisi, for Egypt's efforts in hosting millions of refugees, for his efforts in the fight against illegal migration. The fight against irregular migration is top priority for us. I am convinced that we as EU must do everything we can to prevent illegal migration. In order to combat the root causes, we need sustainable cooperation. The support foreseen in the agreement for Egypt as a host country for a large number of refugees is effective, significant and important. And it's important for everyone, for the people who live here, for Egypt and for the EU. Security is not a one-way street. Security needs cooperation, needs partners. This is also the case in the fight against terror, another really important aspect of the agreement. Because terror is the enemy of the people. It stirs up fear and hatred, seeks to unsettle people and destroy societies. We must therefore oppose all forms of terrorism with all our strength. The fight against terror is more relevant than ever. Egypt is also a key partner of the EU in this respect. I am very pleased that we have reached such a comprehensive agreement and that Austria was able to make its small contribution. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear Ursula and dear colleagues.
Thank you. السيدة رئيسة وزراء الجمهورية الإيطالية، تفضل.
Thank you very much. Where I fully agree with the words expressed by my colleagues. and by Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, whom I want to thank for the work that she's been doing. We have achieved a very important goal today. President Sisi, thank you very much also for your hospitality. But I think that being here all together to sign this declaration means something very important. And it is the result of an intense and effective diplomatic work that all of us have engaged in over the past months. The joint declaration that Egypt and the European Union have adopted today is an important step towards the development of a true partnership able to address in an integrated manner all of the complex challenges of our times, from the regional ones, the development, and also illegal migration. And I want to take also this opportunity once again to express my appreciation for the diplomatic efforts that President Sisi is pursuing together with the United States, with Qatar, moreover, in order to achieve a prolonged pause in hostilities in Gaza, leading to the release of the hostages and to a sustainable ceasefire. But it is also, I'm telling that also to say that I'm proud to announce that a memorandum of understanding with the Egyptian Ministry of Health was adopted today to strengthen bilateral collaboration in humanitarian assistance to wounded civilians arriving from Gaza. It is one additional piece of the wide-ranging humanitarian efforts that Italy has been putting in place since the outbreak of the conflict. We must continue to work hard to achieve a memorandum of understanding able to lay the foundation for a new, I would say, historic page of our relations, deepening our political dialogue, working together for our respective economies. And as all my colleagues said before me, it is also the best way to face the problem of the illegal migration, to fight human traffickers. The best way is to reaffirm the right of the citizens in the African continent not to emigrate towards Europe. And it is something that we can do only with development, and it is exactly what we are doing today. I want to express a note of satisfaction for the role that Italy played in this new model of cooperation between Europe and the southern shore of the Mediterranean, which has become a model that we already started with the Memorandum of Understanding in Tunisia. It is working. Within this European framework, as you know, Italy has also acted in a concrete manner through the Mattei Plan for Africa. Egypt is one of the countries identified in the plan, the priority countries, and it couldn't have been otherwise. That's why I'm also proud that during the course of this visit we adopted more than 10 memoranda, ranging from sustainable agriculture to financial support for small and medium-sized enterprises to infrastructural development and health. So I'm very satisfied with this important day, and I warmly want to thank Ursula, my colleagues, and President Sisi. Sì,